The KKK used a fake version of his voice to spread racist messages aimed at children. He didn't just get angry, he took legal action. But even this gentle soul had his limits. When television producers pressured him to compromise his values, Fred responded with quiet but firm defiance, choosing principle over popularity. To truly understand this man, we need to go back to the beginning. Fred Rogers was born on March 20th, 1928, in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. His family was well off. His father was a successful businessman, and they lived in a large brick house filled with toys, books, and music. Yet Fred didn't feel fortunate. Health issues kept him indoors while other kids played outside. That sense of isolation, watching the world from behind a window, deeply shaped him. It gave him the emotional sensitivity that later allowed him to connect with millions of children. Suffering from asthma and often bedridden, his mother tried to comfort him with piano music and handmade puppets, but loneliness lingered. Fred gained weight and was shy in school, often keeping to himself. But he watched people closely. He learned to read emotions, joy, fear, sadness, and that quiet skill would later become the foundation of his unique way of communicating with children. When Fred was about 11, a traumatic event left a lifelong impact. Neighborhood boys taunted him as Fat Freddy, even chasing him for 11 blocks. Humiliated and breathless, Fred was scarred by the experience, but it gave him a deep sense of empathy. He later addressed bullying on his show, not as a teacher but as someone who had survived it. He showed children how to process pain, be kind, and stand up for themselves. One person who made young Fred feel truly loved was his grandfather, Fred McFeely. Every Sunday at his grandfather's farm, Fred found freedom and joy. His grandfather would often say, "Freddie, you make my day very special just by being you." Those words became a lifelong source of strength and inspired the character Mr. McFeely on his show. By the time Fred entered Latrobe High School, he was still quiet and overweight, carrying the emotional weight of past bullying. But a classmate named Jim Stum extended a hand of friendship, changing Fred's trajectory. That friendship helped Fred blossom. He joined school clubs, discovered leadership, and eventually became student council president. He lost weight, found confidence, and began to believe in himself. His personal transformation taught him the power of kindness and connection. In 1946, Fred started college at Dartmouth but transferred after a year to Rollins College in Florida, where he studied music and composed over 200 pieces. He graduated magna cum laude in 1951 with a degree in music composition. That same year, during a visit home, he saw a television for the first time. Disturbed by the lowbrow slapstick content he witnessed, he thought, "This could be something beautiful, why is it being wasted?" That moment sparked a mission. Fred moved to New York and began working behind the scenes at NBC, helping produce live shows like Your Hit Parade and The Voice of Firestone. But he soon realized commercial TV wasn't for him. He disliked the noise, the ads, and the control of sponsors. In 1953, Fred walked away from commercial television and chose a different path. He enrolled at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary while also studying child development under Dr. Margaret McFarland. Most people would pick one field. Fred pursued three: media, psychology, and spirituality. That unique combination would later define his groundbreaking show. Also in 1953, Fred joined WQED, the first community-funded educational TV station in the U.S. operating from a converted mansion with minimal staff and budget. Fred wore many hats: co-producer, puppeteer, even organist. He created a cast of puppet characters like Daniel Striped Tiger, King Friday 13, and Lady Elaine Fairchild, many inspired by real people in his life. The original show, The Children's Corner, was only meant to introduce short children's films, but Fred transformed it with full storylines and rich characters. It earned national acclaim and won the 1955 Sylvania Award for Best Locally Produced Children's Show. Still, Fred stayed humble, letting the puppets and the music speak. While juggling that work, Fred continued his seminary education, sometimes attending classes during lunch breaks, often in his studio clothes. He and co-host Josie Carey even traveled weekly to New York for live broadcasts. Fred didn't aspire to preach from a pulpit, he wanted to minister through television. In 1963, after 8 years of juggling TV and seminary, Fred was ordained as a Presbyterian minister, not to lead a church, but to serve children through the medium of television. It was a groundbreaking moment. The church recognized that his congregation was the nation's children, and his pulpit was the television camera. Every song, every puppet, every quiet moment on his show carried a message of love, acceptance, and emotional honesty. That same year, Fred traveled to Canada, where he began a 15-minute children's show called Mr. Rogers at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, a show that would later evolve into the beloved Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, touching the lives of generations. Over the course of 337 episodes, Fred Rogers quietly transformed from a behind-the-scenes creator to an on-camera icon. Initially shy and hesitant, he was persuaded by CBC executive Fred Rainsbury to step into the spotlight for a Canadian version of his children's show. This early version became the foundation for what would evolve into Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. In Canada, he crafted his gentle tone, began speaking directly to children, and created the neighborhood of make-believe, shaping the persona the world would come to love. By the early 1970s, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood had become a staple in American households, eventually airing nearly 1,000 episodes over more than 3 decades. Every episode began the same way, Rogers walking through the door, singing his theme song, and changing into a cardigan and sneakers. This wasn't random, it was a ritual designed to make children feel comfortable and secure. The sweaters, lovingly hand-knitted by his mother until her passing in 1981, were personal symbols of warmth. While the red cardigan became iconic and was later placed in the Smithsonian, Rogers actually wore green more often. He was red-green colorblind and didn't even realize it. That simple routine signaled to children that they had entered a space where they were accepted just as they were. On May 1, 1969, Rogers appeared before the U.S. Senate, where President Nixon proposed slashing public TV funding in half. Rogers calmly and emotionally defended the value of children's programming, explaining that his show cost just $6,000 a year. He even quoted lyrics from his show to make his point. Senator John Pastor, known for being tough, was visibly moved and declared, "Looks like you just earned the $20 million." That moment not only saved PBS, it demonstrated that a gentle voice could wield enormous influence. Just 8 days later, on May 9th, Rogers made another bold statement, this time on air. In episode 165, he invited Francois Clemens, a black actor playing a police officer, to share a small pool with him and soak their feet together. At a time when public pool segregation was still a divisive issue, this quiet act of kindness sent a powerful message: everyone deserves respect. Years later, Rogers privately washed Clemens's feet and thanked him for everything. That episode remains a timeless example of standing against racism with grace. As the show expanded its reach, its popularity soared. By the mid-1980s, it was reaching 1.8 million American homes with a 2.1% rating share, remarkable for a public TV program. Rogers was deeply involved in every aspect of the production. He wrote every script, created all the puppets, composed over 200 songs and 13 operas, and never used the platform to sell products. Even after the final new episode aired in 2001, reruns remained beloved, making it one of PBS's longest-running shows.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Darkon Entertainment, where I give tips, product reviews, and information on how to make better film and also for photography. Today, I'm going to be talking about this new product by Godox. Godox sent this to me in order to review, and so I'm not on camera today to do the review because there's a lot of technical things that I want to show with this product. The Godox X3 Pro TTL wireless flash trigger is it's something that I'm really interested in getting everybody to see because I come from the old school version of these flat wireless flash triggers. I'll walk through what I like about it, where it shines, and I'll stack it up against the older X Pro, in this case, the X Pro C TTL trigger.
Yay!
So it comes in this neat box here, and then I'm going to show you guys what came in the box. What comes in the box is the flash itself, the wire to power it up, and this was really cool, this little screen protector here. Of course, the manual, and also some wipes. Okay. I guess in order to be able to put the screen protector on. But that's all that came in the box.
Yay!
The flash itself is small. It's not huge as you would think, like the box is kind of very big. But the flash itself is somewhat small. The Godox X3 Pro is a 2.4 gigahertz wireless flash trigger designed to control off-camera flashes and strobes with full TTL, manual, HSS, and multi-flash support. Its key features are 2.4 color LCD touchscreen, which is much larger than earlier compact triggers. It supports up to 16 groups and 32 channels, giving a lot of flexibility for complex lighting setups. It has built-in battery, USB-C rechargeable. So there are no more AA batteries, which, unless you forget to power this thing up, that's a gift for you. You just remember, like in prep time, I always do the night before, make sure everything is charged up and powered up. It has a long standby time, roughly 1 month. So, you know, like with most things, you basically want to make sure that you power it up halfway and check. You know, we experienced that with the old Godox batteries, the lithium ones, where if you didn't power it up after a while, if you didn't have any work after a while, and you powered it up, and it would stop taking the charge, which was, you know, the worst thing ever to have a block battery for your outdoor shoots and it doesn't work. I have 2 of them that no longer work. They're pretty much dead. They're bricked. But this is cool. I mean, no more double one that came with the light. It was always AA batteries, so you have to charge up the batteries as well. The extra features include creative shutter control for long exposures and time lapse, and a PC sync port or optional wireless receivers to trigger strobes or trigger remote shutter with external receivers.
Yay!
Okay, so let's see what the difference is between the X3 Pro versus the X Pro C flash triggers. Here's a side-by-side view of where I'm coming from to where it's at now. I mean, this is amazing. I bought this one. This wireless trigger came with the light that I bought, the 400 Pro, and it's just, it never failed me. I mean, it always popped off well. It could also power and pop off other third-party flashes, which was always really cool because, you know, I only had one main light, and then I would use this in order to power off 2 additional flashes that I had. Now this one obviously is smaller. It's way smaller, it looks like the screen is pretty much the same screen size, which is really cool. And I mean, you can see how old it is, the one that I've been using. So I'm really interested in seeing how I'm going to be able to control the light with this one here. But yeah, this is where I'm coming from and where I'm headed to. The X3 Pro's touchscreen interface is a major leap over the older button-based interface. This alone justifies upgrading. The X3 Pro is more compact and sleeker on camera, and handling feels less obtrusive. This one here has Bluetooth connectivity, and which is a great thing because that wasn't in this one. Now, the only difference is, the physical button layout and the mechanical controls. You lose that when you have this one. But you also have, this one has an app, and you can actually control it from your phone, which is really, really cool. You can't do that with this one. Obviously, if you need basic TTL or manual flash triggering with one or two lights, this one, obviously will still work. It's still reliable. You may not be able to find it, though. But you might not need these extra features, but having these extra features, is really cool. So I'm going to put it on the camera, and I'm going to see how it works.
Yay.
Okay, so you can see the trigger is on top of the camera. And yes, my camera is an old camera. I shoot with the 5D, the Canon 5D Mark III. I will never leave this camera. I'll be shooting on it until the wheels fall off before I have to get something different. And that's just through preference. I love this camera. I've shot a lot of photos with it, and created actually some short films with this camera. So I have a fond attachment to it. Anyway, as you can see, it's on here. Now, the one thing that I don't like is there's a lot of wiggle room on this, and I think Godox perhaps needs to put a little R&D into figuring out how to make that happen. The cool thing I do like about it is there's just this one button to pull it off. But the connection, like I said, is kind of weak. Whereas with this one, you used to have to screw it on. This actually offered a lot more stability on it. As you can see here, you would screw it on and it was tighter. See, there's no give. All right. So I'm not sure if it's because of the model of camera that I have, or if it's just something that Godox needs to be aware of. I do like the fact that it takes one button in which to press it to remove it. Oh, look at it flashed. But this wiggle room is disturbing to me. I'm not gonna lie. This is just, it doesn't stop the camera from flashing. Obviously, the trigger works. As you can see here, this with this as well. So it works, but that wiggle room is, again, that would be one of my main cons. They need to fix that. They need to figure out a better way to make sure that this isn't happening. Otherwise, as you can see with my 400, it does flash, it does pop off. So it works well. And I am happy about that. So I'll be using that a lot. Let's see what a triple tap does. Wow, look at that. There's like hardly any space in between the trigger going off. So that's good. I guess with a little more time, you get to work the menu. It's relatively a simple menu. It's not too overbearing. Again, this looseness, I just don't like this, guys. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. But, you can see through the menu here, they have Bluetooth, they have different things, one shoe, all shoe. The next thing I'm gonna see is if it pops off a third party, flash, if it triggers it, okay?
Yay.
And the question was, would this trigger, besides popping off the main 400, trigger this off-brand version as well? All right. And it does. It does. As you can see. Of course, if you don't have the Godox, without it, it won't trigger it off.
Yay.
I'll leave a link in the description on where you can find yourself one of these, and let Godox know I sent you guys. All right. This is not a paid advertisement. They did not pay me to review this. They just sent me the product and wanted to get my opinion on it. And hopefully some of you guys got some clarity on this if you're looking to get a new trigger for your camera. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Sybil Shepherd wasn't just a Hollywood star, she was a storm in heels with golden hair that glowed like the southern sun and $1 million face. Her debut didn't just impress, it shook Hollywood. She owned the spotlight. Multiple Golden Globe appearances, critical acclaim, and a public that adored her. But the same fame that lifted her soon became the weight dragging her down. Affairs, scandals, and power struggles followed. A relationship with a married director and battles with TV executives pushed her from stardom to near obscurity. Then came the hardest fight off camera, skin cancer. It brought unbearable pain, and the silence of fame fading turned into loneliness. Once too famous to fail, she became too infamous to be forgiven. So what happened to Sybil Shepherd? Why did a star with everything to gain lose it all? In her memoir Sybil Disobedience, she reveals the truth she once hid. Now it's your turn to discover it. Born February 18, 1950, in Memphis, Tennessee, Sybil grew up in a middle-class family. Her father, a businessman. Her mother, a homemaker. Even her name had meaning, Cy from her grandfather, Bill from her dad. She always stood out, blonde hair, fair skin, and bold eyes. She wasn't just pretty, she was fearless. She once skipped school for a modeling audition and never looked back. At 16, she won Miss Teenage Memphis and charmed her way to Miss Congeniality at the national level. That likability opened doors, but also made her vulnerable in an industry that takes as much as it gives. By 18, Sybil Shepherd was already a star in the making. Named Model of the Year, her face appeared on the cover of Glamour, a moment that changed everything. Director Peter Bogdanovich, flipping through a magazine at a supermarket, saw her photo and immediately called her agency. Who is this girl? He needed to know. Weeks later, Sybil landed her very first screen test for the Last Picture Show. It wasn't just her film debut, it was the beginning of a life under the microscope. Sybil didn't ride anyone's coattails. She forged her own path with boldness, ambition, and zero interest in settling for ordinary. That drive made her both admired and feared in Hollywood. Her performance in The Last Picture Show, 1971, directed by Bogdanovich, was electric. Playing J.C. Farrow, a beautiful but emotionally complex young woman, Sybil was untrained but unforgettable. In a now iconic nude scene, she exposed not just her body but her vulnerability. The result? A Golden Globe nomination for New Star of the Year, and the film 8 Oscar nods, 2 wins, and lasting status as a classic of American cinema. Hollywood had found its next phenomenon. Sybil wasn't just a pretty face, she had presence, power, and a mind of her own. On Moonlighting, producers later admitted that without her, the show's sharp, witty tone wouldn't exist. She helped define its voice and inspired a new era of TV dialogue. But behind the scenes, pressure was building. Sybil and co-star Bruce Willis clashed constantly. What began as creative friction turned into explosive tension. Both were strong-willed, neither backing down. Co-star Curtis Armstrong wrote, "Those two were constantly at odds." Yet the labels weren't equal. Bruce was the fun-loving guy, Sybil difficult. In an interview, she fired back. "When a man raises his voice, he's decisive. When a woman does, she's a diva." While Moonlighting was soaring, Sybil's personal life was shifting. Pregnant with twins, she slowed production, only to be blamed by the media for the show's declining momentum. Meanwhile, Bruce Willis was becoming an action star with Die Hard, and the magic between them on-screen was fading fast. By the final seasons, tensions were unbearable. The writing weakened, the chemistry soured, and in 1989, Moonlighting was cancelled. Outwardly, Sybil was still winning Golden Globes, critical acclaim, TV dominance. But behind closed doors, she faced constant pressure, gender bias, and draining battles with her co-star. Without the tension, the screen wouldn't feel that real, she later admitted. But the emotional toll was heavy. The brighter the spotlight, the darker the shadow behind it. In 1995, Sybil returned with a show named after herself, Sybil. This time, she called the shots. The sitcom followed an aging actress navigating rejection, single motherhood, and a brutal industry. "That character was me," she confessed, saying, "Everything I used to hold back, it struck a chord." Sybil tackled themes rarely seen on TV, aging, sexism, motherhood, and loneliness, with biting humor and feminist fire. Critics hailed her as the Lucille Ball of the 90s. The show earned her a 3rd Golden Globe, 12 Emmy nominations, and a spot in CBS's top 20 shows. But behind success lay betrayal. In 2018, co-star Christine Baranski revealed the real reason for the show's abrupt cancellation. Sybil had rejected a sexual advance from CBS CEO Les Moonves. After she declined his offer for a ride home, he began interfering with the show, then canceled it entirely. Years later, multiple women accused Moonves of misconduct and he resigned in disgrace. Sybil never got an apology, but she never asked for one. "If I had said yes, maybe Sybil would have lasted longer," she said. "But I wasn't here to trade dignity for a few more episodes." But Sybil's story was never just about TV. Before Moonlighting, she made her mark on film with standout roles in The Heartbreak Kid and Taxi Driver, known for her ability to convey icy restraint. After taking time off for motherhood, she eased back in with roles on Fantasy Island and later her TV breakthrough. She also pursued jazz. Her 1974 debut album wasn't a hit, but it showed her artistic soul, committed, timeless, and trend-proof. Even after Sybil was canceled, she never stopped. She appeared in The L Word as a mother supporting her lesbian daughter, and later in Psych, Criminal Minds, and No Ordinary Family. She kept releasing jazz albums, staying true to her voice, never chasing trends. Her life was never defined by a single peak, it was a series of reinventions, each one proof of resilience. In her memoir Sybil Disobedience, she reflected on it all. As a young model in New York, she studied art and anthropology and questioned cultural shame around nudity. That belief gave her the confidence to say yes to the controversial role of JC in The Last Picture Show. At the time, her boyfriend warned, "If you do that scene, I'll never marry you." She did it anyway. They broke up. That moment set the tone for the rest of her life. She chose her passion every time. In her memoir Civil Disobedience, she faced it all with striking honesty. She wasn't sorry for the wild years or the reckless choices. She refused to apologize for living boldly. But over time, it wasn't chaos that defined Sybil, it was motherhood. The pain of broken relationships softened into purpose as she raised her children. Parenthood became her anchor, her reason, her redemption. After the end of her second marriage and several failed engagements, Sybil turned inward. She found strength in faith and peace in solitude, something she never quite had in her youth. Love, she realized, wasn't just about passion, it was about endurance. And the deepest, most lasting love she knew was the one she had for her children, her friends, and eventually, herself. Even as Hollywood moved on, Sybil carved out a quieter, more meaningful life. She stopped chasing the spotlight and started embracing her scars. Her later years weren't free of struggle. She battled skin cancer and lived for years with undiagnosed pain from IBS. But instead of hiding her pain, she spoke out, breaking taboos around women's health and aging. She became a voice for women dealing with invisible burdens, refusing to let shame silence her. In 2007, an abdominal attack nearly ended her life, but months of recovery became a turning point, a rebirth. Vulnerability became her power. She joined the Great Women Campaign, advocated for IBS awareness, and spoke about menopause with refreshing bluntness. At one party, she famously asked a stranger, "How's menopause treating you?" She didn't care if it made people uncomfortable. She knew the silence around aging was far worse. In these candid conversations, Sybil gave women permission to be real, to hurt, to age.
नीडो स्कूल एज न्यूट्रिशन में मौजूद इजाफी न्यूट्रिएंट्स इसकी ग्रोथ, लर्निंग और इम्यूनिटी को सपोर्ट करें। इसीलिए तुम्हारे हर बढ़ते कदम पर नीडो और मेरा प्यार हर पल साथ।
What happened? The Cosby Show was a groundbreaking series that defined a generation, but its sudden disappearance from the airwaves left many puzzled. What led to the iconic show's abrupt end? From Bill Cosby's personal scandals to broader societal shifts, here's a look at the real reasons behind the Cosby Show's fall from TV screens. Bill Cosby's reign as America's dad once seemed untouchable, but it came crashing down amidst decades of allegations that forever altered his legacy. For years, he was a symbol of family values, comedy brilliance, and cultural progress. But that image disintegrated when accusations of misconduct finally broke into the mainstream. The fall was as shocking as it was messy, because this wasn't just about one man's reputation collapsing. It was about the erasure of one of television's most groundbreaking shows, a sitcom that had reshaped American culture and opened doors for representation on screen. The Cosby Show wasn't canceled because of poor ratings, creative burnout, or waning audience interest. It was erased because the man who created it, wrote it, and starred as its heart became a walking scandal. How did Bill Cosby, once celebrated as the ideal father figure, turn into one of the most controversial figures in pop culture history? The truth, as with most stories of power and fame, begins with a perfectly looking lie. When The Cosby Show first aired in 1984, it was unlike anything else on television. The show introduced audiences to the Huxtables, an upper-middle-class African-American family living in New York. Cliff Huxtable, played by Cosby himself, was a doctor. Claire, his wife, was a lawyer, and their 5 children filled the home with humor, conflicts, and relatable challenges. For millions of viewers, this family wasn't just entertaining, they were aspirational. The Cosby Show flipped the script on how black families were portrayed on television. Prior to its debut, most depictions leaned on stereotypes, poverty, or hardship. The Huxtables were different. Educated, professional, happy, and thriving in a comfortable home. Their success and intelligence challenged ingrained assumptions and offered audiences a fresh picture of what a black family could look like on primetime TV. Cosby drew much of the show's inspiration from his own life and comedy career. His stand-up routines often centered on parenting, family life, and the everyday absurdities of raising children. He wanted the sitcom to make people laugh, but also to teach valuable lessons about responsibility, education, and family values. Early on, he considered making the parents hold working-class jobs like taxi driver or electrician, but he eventually elevated them to doctor and lawyer. This was more than just a creative choice. It was a statement. By giving the Huxtables prestigious professions, Cosby sent a message that Black families could embody success and achievement on television in a way that mainstream America wasn't used to seeing. The show was filmed in New York, and exterior shots used a real house to create authenticity, which made audiences feel that the Huxtables could be a real family living in their neighborhood. Casting the family was equally critical. Cosby personally selected the actors with great care, ensuring they fit his vision of the ideal sitcom family. Whitney Houston was even considered for a role, but her music career took precedence. Vanessa Williams was also in the running, but her duties as Miss America kept her from joining. Eventually, the chosen cast became iconic. Sabrina Lubaugh as Sandra, the eldest, Lisa Bonet as the rebellious Denise, Malcolm Jamal Warner as Theo, the only son, Tempest Bledsoe as Vanessa, and Kesha Knight Pulliam as Rudy, the adorable youngest daughter. Their chemistry and dynamic made the Huxtables feel real, warm, and funny. The Cosby Show was an instant success. Within its first season, it skyrocketed in popularity and soon became the #1 show on television. For 4 or 5 consecutive years, it reigned at the top, a feat few shows in television history have achieved. Its influence spread far beyond American borders. International audiences embraced the Huxtables as well, many seeing for the first time a Black family portrayed with such dignity, humor, and prosperity. The show won countless awards and accolades, and Cosby's portrayal of Cliff Huxtable became iconic, especially his trademark colorful sweaters, which became a cultural trend of their own. Families tuned in weekly, not just for laughs, but also for lessons on education, responsibility, and resilience. The sitcom had become more than entertainment. It was a cultural milestone. Yet, behind the laughter and polished family image, shadows loomed. Decades later, allegations against Bill Cosby began to surface, painting a picture far different from the beloved father figure he portrayed on screen. Starting in the early 2000s, women began coming forward, accusing Cosby of sexual misconduct. They claimed he had drugged and assaulted them, some accounts going back decades. At first, many dismissed the accusations or didn't take them seriously. Cosby's clean image and towering reputation seemed untouchable. But the tide turned in 2014 when comedian Hannibal Buress referenced Cosby's alleged crimes in a stand-up routine. The clip went viral, reigniting public discussion and emboldening more women to share their stories. Soon, more than 60 women had come forward with strikingly similar accounts, sparking a cultural reckoning. By 2015, Cosby faced criminal charges connected to a 2004 case. His first trial ended without a verdict, but in 2018, he was convicted of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. The conviction sent shock waves through the entertainment world. Here was a man once hailed as the epitome of family values, now revealed as a predator. In 2021, Cosby's conviction was overturned on a legal technicality, and he was released. Still, the damage was done. His reputation was irreparably shattered, and the allegations continued to overshadow any contributions he had made to entertainment. For many, the crimes could never be separated from the art. The fallout spread to The Cosby Show. Once a staple in syndication, beloved by generations, it was suddenly toxic. Television networks pulled reruns, streaming platforms scrubbed episodes, and the show became nearly impossible to find legally. A sitcom that had once represented cultural progress now carried the stain of its creator's misconduct. For the cast, this meant not only emotional disillusionment, but also financial loss. Syndication royalties that actors had depended on dried up almost overnight, forcing some into difficult situations. But Cosby's crimes weren't the only controversies tied to the show. Even at the height of its success, tensions simmered behind the scenes. Lisa Bonet, who played Denise, often clashed with Cosby. Creative, independent, and unafraid to push boundaries, she resisted his control. Her photo shoots for adult magazines and her starring role in the provocative film Angel Heart infuriated Cosby, who wanted to maintain a wholesome image for the show. Their strained relationship eventually led to Bonet being written into a spin-off, A Different World. Though marketed as Denise's college journey, many suspected the real reason was Cosby wanting her off the main show. Later, Bonet reflected that she had always felt something was off about Cosby, though she hadn't fully understood why at the time. Other cast members also revealed troubling dynamics. Joseph C. Phillips, who played Denise's husband, alleged that everyone on set knew about Cosby's infidelities. While not everyone knew the full extent of his misconduct, whispers and rumors circulated long before the public reckoning. For many, this hindsight made the show's wholesome facade feel even more artificial. The cast's lives after the show varied widely, with some facing struggles that became tabloid fodder.
Jazz Cash, your mobile account. Install and go.
Jeffrey Owens, who played Elvin, was photographed working at a Trader Joe's years after the show ended. Critics mocked him, but the acting community rallied to his defense, pointing out the instability of the profession and the fact that honest work should never be shamed. Sabrina Luboth expressed dissatisfaction with her role as Sandra, feeling underutilized by the writers. Malcolm Jamal Warner struggled with the direction of his later sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, which he criticized for perpetuating racial stereotypes. Kesha Knight Pulliam, beloved as Rudy, faced personal struggles in adulthood, including a bitter divorce that played out publicly. Even secondary figures connected to the show had complicated paths. Nicole Leach, a guest actress, staged a topless protest during Cosby's trial, writing the names of accusers across her body. Raven Simone, who charmed audiences as Olivia, later sparked backlash for controversial remarks about race. And Stacey Dash, who appeared in a minor role, faced her own controversies with arrests and polarizing political statements. Lisa Bonet's post-show life also made headlines, particularly her high-profile marriage to musician Lenny Kravitz and the upbringing of their daughter Zoe Kravitz, who would go on to become a star in her own right. Despite all the turmoil, The Cosby Show's cultural significance cannot be denied. At the time of its airing, it broke barriers in how Black families were represented on television. It shifted perceptions, proving that sitcoms could portray Black households as educated, affluent, and aspirational. Its influence paved the way for later shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Blackish, which built on the legacy of representation. The show also addressed real issues like education, parenting, and adolescent struggles, packaging them in humor that resonated with audiences across racial and cultural lines. And yet, its legacy remains complicated. On one hand, it remains a groundbreaking work that reshaped. Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson wasn't planned. It wasn't polished, and it definitely wasn't the kind of thing you'd expect to come out of a PR playbook. It was raw. It was hilarious. And it instantly flipped the internet upside down. Blake Shelton has never been afraid to speak his mind, but his latest admission about Kelly Clarkson has left fans absolutely stunned. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a playful jab. It was a truth that nobody saw coming. For years, people have watched their fiery battles on The Voice, never realizing what Blake was holding back. Now, the country superstar's confession has flipped the story upside down, shaking the fan community and sparking endless debates online. The words were simple, but their impact was massive. And the big question remains, why did Blake finally say it now? Kelly Clarkson's sweet return and playful moments at The Voice finale. The 27th season of The Voice ended with a memorable finale that excited fans. The finale was energetic, featured powerful music, and included special guests, making it one of the most thrilling finals in recent years. The highlight of the night was seeing two popular former coaches, Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson, return to the stage to perform their new songs. This made the finale feel even more special. Many viewers were excited not just to hear the new songs, but also to witness the old chemistry between the performers. The fun competition between Kelly and Blake was a memorable part of the show, but unfortunately, it did not happen on stage this time. However, Kelly still found a way to recreate that banter with a small gesture, making the finale more heartfelt and special for everyone. Kelly Clarkson shared her journey back to the West Coast, including the emotions she felt while performing her new single, Where Have You Been? In a video on Instagram, fans could see her returning to a place where she had spent many years. Clarkson had spent 9 seasons on The Voice from 2018 to 2023, so her return held special significance for her. The video was heartwarming and enjoyable. It featured Kelly preparing for a significant event, putting on a beautiful black sequin pantsuit. What made her outfit stand out were the feathered wings hanging from her sleeves, creating a glamorous and dramatic appearance. Her feelings were clear as she expressed how difficult it was to describe the emotions of returning to a place that had played such a significant role in her life. It felt like all the memories from past seasons, the contestants she mentored, and the connections she made flooded back to her in an instant. However, the most exciting moment for fans was still to come. Kelly noticed Blake Shelton's iconic chair as she walked through the studio. This chair had been his spot on the show for many years, and fans were accustomed to seeing him spin around in it with his cowboy charm. Kelly, being playful, couldn't resist the urge to sit in the chair herself. Holding a coffee cup, she sat in the chair and appeared to be thrilled, as if she had temporarily claimed his throne. The moment captured Kelly's classic personality, sweet, playful, and enjoyable. It was not intended to offend anyone, especially Adam Levine, who also has a strong connection to that chair. Adam himself has made jokes about it being Blake's previous spot. Fans watching found it amusing and felt a sense of nostalgia. It reminded them of the old days when Kelly and Blake often teased each other on live television. Some viewers felt disappointed that the reunion between Kelly, Blake, and Adam did not happen on stage as they had expected. They missed the playful interaction between the trio. However, the finale did not completely rule out the possibility of Blake and Adam teaming up again, as Carson Daly hinted at it, keeping the audience intrigued. It is unclear if the reunion will happen in the future. Blake Shelton appears happy to have taken a break from the show, and it seems unlikely he will return soon. Kelly Clarkson, however, continues to be popular in the spotlight. There have been talks about possible career changes for her, including rumors about the future of her daytime talk show, but nothing has been confirmed yet. If she does make changes, she may have the opportunity to be a coach again in Los Angeles. Fans will have to wait and see for now. The upcoming season 28 of The Voice will have a new look, as none of the original judges, Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, or Adam Levine, will be returning this fall. Michael Bublé will be joining the panel to compete against Niall Horan, who has won twice. Reba McEntire and Snoop Dogg will also be new judges, bringing a mix of personalities and talent that will surely bring surprises. Blake's sweet music battle. The Voice has always showcased talent, surprises, and unforgettable moments. Sometimes, it's not just the contestants who stand out, but also the coaches. This was the case when Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson engaged in a playful yet serious debate that had fans talking long after the auditions ended. The moment that stood out was when Mandy Castillo auditioned with the song, ACI Fue. Her voice caught the attention of the coaches right away. After her performance, the coaches shared their thoughts. Blake Shelton, known for his humor, seemed serious this time. He praised Mandy's singing and mentioned hearing a hint of country in her song. Kelly Clarkson is known for always correcting Blake when he says something wrong. This time, she corrected him by saying the instrument was a violin, not a fiddle. Usually, Blake would laugh it off, but this time he insisted both were the same. Kelly, however, stood by her point and said playing the violin made it different from a fiddle. It turned into a playful conversation between Blake and Kelly, filled with teasing like siblings. Fans enjoyed this banter. The crowd laughed as Mandy found herself in the middle of the friendly dispute between the two music stars. Blake not only praised Mandy's voice again, but also insisted that a fiddle and a violin are identical. This was his way of continuing their debate. When everyone thought the debate was over, Nick Jonas, a new coach, decided to end it. He looked up the answer on his phone and found that a violin can sometimes be called a fiddle. This discovery added to the fun, with Kelly amused and Blake more determined to prove his point. Behind the scenes, Blake was not finished yet. In an interview without the cameras, he repeated his explanation. He said that if a person went to a music store to buy a fiddle, they would be shown violins. He believed there was no distinction between the two, and he insisted that was the truth. So where's the truth? In technical terms, Blake was right. A fiddle and a violin are essentially the same musical instrument. The distinction lies not in the instrument itself, but in the type of music being performed. When playing classical or formal music, it is typically referred to as a violin. In folk or country music, it is often called a fiddle. It is more about the style of music and sound rather than the materials used to make the instrument. Fans on social media quickly shared their opinions. Some agreed with Blake, noting that his explanation was common among musicians. Others sided with Kelly, empathizing with her feeling that playing the violin was different from playing in the fiddle style. Each of them had valid points, adding to the entertainment of the moment. This brief argument between the two wasn't exactly about who was correct. It was more about their connection, sense of fun, and how they liven up the voice. Blake and Kelly have a knack for turning any little disagreement into a memorable moment. Their banter made the episode more enjoyable and gave viewers another reason to be happy. In the end, Mandy had a memorable audition that became one of the season's most talked about moments. The debate over violin versus fiddle. The moment showed why viewers enjoy the interaction between the coaches. It was lighthearted and amusing, adding warmth to the show. Blake saw it as an opportunity to stick to his beliefs. Shines on stage and off after court victory. Kelly Clarkson is feeling a new sense of freedom and happiness since winning her divorce battle with Brandon Blackstock. She has been celebrating with music, laughter, and friends. Although her journey has been tough, her positive attitude is inspiring others to watch her shine. The 39-year-old singer had a memorable night in Denver when she went to Blake Shelton's concert. Blake, who is her friend and co-judge on The Voice, was performing on his Friends and Heroes tour. Instead of just sitting in the audience, Kelly went on stage with him and sang a duet in front of thousands of excited fans. The atmosphere was full of energy, their connection was clear, and the moment highlighted Kelly's passion and talent for music. Before the amazing performance, Kelly was seen with two friends, smiling enthusiastically. The trio took a selfie together during the show, clearly showing Kelly's happiness. Her radiant smile in the pictures reflected the joy she felt after a tough time. This night was not just a concert, but a way to mark progress and positivity. In August, Blake's Friends and Heroes tour started in Omaha, Nebraska, featuring country legends Tracy Byrd, Martina McBride, Trace Adkins, and Lindsay Ell. The tour went all over the country and finished in October in Uncasville, Connecticut. Denver was one of the stops on the tour, and for Kelly, it was a night she would always remember. Kelly, who is known for her support of other artists, posted pictures from the show to encourage Blake and the other performers. She uploaded a photo of Tracy Byrd performing on stage and expressed her excitement with a lighthearted caption. Tracy held a special place in her heart because she had previously performed one of his popular songs, The Keeper of the Stars, with her band on her talk show. Watching him perform live made Kelly feel ecstatic, and she shared her joy with her followers. She also caught Blake during his performance, proudly labeling him the Prince of Country while commending his amazing song selection. She maintained a lighthearted energy with her typical humor, using fun emojis in her social media posts. Her playful nature surfaced again when she jokingly mentioned to fans that George Strait was still the ultimate king of country music in her opinion. Just a few days earlier, she had gone to George Strait's concert in Las Vegas with her friends, calling him the best artist of all time. This was her way of keeping things lively while also expressing her admiration for Blake. Before entering the Denver concert, Kelly got her fans excited by posting on her Instagram story. She expressed her enthusiasm, referring to Blake as a close friend, and indicated she was prepared to have a good time. She believed the event was not just about music, but also about enjoying life and proving that despite past sadness, she was ready to be happy again. The most unexpected moment of the evening happened when Kelly joined Blake on stage. They performed his popular song Lonely Tonight, which had been a chart topper in the country music genre. The crowd cheered as the two celebrities sang together in perfect harmony. It was a touching display of friendship, music, and camaraderie that will stay with fans even after the tour is over. Despite the fame and support, Kelly's private life was still being watched by the public. Her high-profile divorce with Brandon Blackstock was still being talked about in the news. There were rumors that Blake had recently ended his professional relationship with Brandon, who had managed him for a long time. This move was reportedly made during Brandon's breakup with Kelly, showing another change in their close relationships. During the court proceedings, Brandon talked about his future goals. He mentioned that he desired to give up his career in entertainment and live as a full-time rancher in Montana. Brandon stated his commitment to ranching and obtaining sponsorships for rodeo events, indicating that he did not plan to go back to managing musicians. The judges presiding over the case took notice of his statement, highlighting that he spent very little time with his current clients. His words described a man who was transitioning from one lifestyle to another. At the same time, Kelly was making plans for the future in her way. It was reported that she was prepared to sell the Montana ranch she owned, which had become a cause of conflict during her divorce. The estate, worth millions, had been in Brandon's possession even as the legal battle continued. Kelly's attorneys advocated for permission to sell the ranch, despite opposition from Brandon's legal team. Since the prenuptial agreement had not been settled, the decision was still up in the air. However, people close to Kelly indicated that she was determined to move forward and not allow the property to hinder her progress. The difference between Kelly and Brandon's choices was very clear. Brandon wanted a peaceful life on the ranch, while Kelly was busy performing on stage, spending time with friends, and focusing on her music and career. She believed in moving forward with happiness, determination, and the love for music that she had since she was young. Her victory in court was not the only reason for her celebration, a celebration of freedom and strength. The studio was filled with laughter and cheers when Kelly Clarkson, a beloved singer, received good news. The judge had ruled in her favor in the ongoing legal battle with her ex-husband, upholding their prenuptial agreement. This decision felt like a bright ray of sunshine piercing through the storm clouds that had been hanging over her for months. It was more than just a legal victory. It was a relief, an opportunity to move forward, and a signal that she could start finding happiness again. While on the set of The Voice, she received the news. Surrounded by cameras, lights, and the energy of filming, she felt overwhelming joy upon seeing the message from her lawyers. Unable to contain her emotions, she let out a loud scream of happiness, filled with relief and triumph. Immediately, her fellow coaches Blake Shelton and Ariana Grande shared in her excitement. Together, they celebrated, their laughter reverberating like music throughout the stage. It was not just a minor victory, but a significant milestone in her journey. Kelly's attorneys verified that her prenuptial agreement was valid, allowing her to keep the wealth and possessions she had earned through her hard work in her career. She had dedicated years to music, live shows, and television, and now she could feel at peace knowing that her efforts had paid off and her foundation was protected. Only 1 month ago, the situation seemed bleak. She was told to give Blackstock almost $200,000 each month for spousal support and child support. This amount would be a lot for anyone, but for Kelly, with 2 young kids to look after, it was a huge burden. Papers from court showed her finances. Kelly made over $2.4 million every month. The numbers were impressive, but it was her skills, effort, and many nights of not sleeping that got her to that level of success. One of the key wins in this ruling was that she was able to retain her Montana ranch. The ranch, which was a large and stunning property, was bought with her money. Although Blackstock had been living there, he attempted to contest the prenuptial agreement, wanting to split their assets and her earnings evenly. Nevertheless, the judge supported Kelly. The ranch belonged entirely to her, and she had the option to sell it. Kelly saw the Montana ranch as more than just property. It symbolized her freedom and dreams of starting a family. It was a testament to her perseverance and determination to hold on to what she had worked hard for. The divorce process was very difficult and painful. The marriage was officially over after the judge declared it bifurcated. This legal step finalized the separation. Although she was still hurting emotionally, this decision brought her a sense of closure. Kelly was given primary custody of her 2 children, River, age 7, and Remington, age 5. Her children meant everything to her, and knowing they would be with her brought her a level of comfort that money could not buy. However, Kelly still had financial obligations to fulfill. Although she covered 70% of her kids' school fees and other costs, she made it clear that she wouldn't be responsible for the expenses of the Montana ranch. The monthly upkeep for the ranch was expensive, nearly $81,000, and the judge ruled that Blackstock, who resided there, should handle that financial burden alone. While Blackstock continued to receive some payments, such as $150,000 every month for spousal support and an extra $45,000 for child support, the final agreements had not been decided yet. Despite receiving these payments, Kelly was able to maintain her personal freedom, her entitlements, and her prospects for the future. It was a strong reminder of the path she had traveled. Since she was young, Kelly Clarkson was not just a singer. She was a determined person, with a voice that conveyed not only through songs, but also through all the challenges she encountered. She has sold over 25 million albums and 45 million singles globally, with each song representing a part of her journey and every note reflecting her dedication. And now, in addition to her music career, she had her talk show where she could spread positivity, joy, and motivation to millions of people every day. Her relationship with Brandon Blackstock started several years ago. They first crossed paths in 2011, during a time when their love felt effortless and promising. In 2013, they tied the knot, merging their families and creating a future together. Brandon had 2 kids from a previous marriage, Seth and Savannah, whom Kelly welcomed with open arms. They formed a close-knit family that seemed like it would stand the test of time. Kelly sometimes mentioned wanting to have more children. She admitted to feeling baby fever after holding a famous chef's baby. She joked about wanting another baby, imagining their soft cheeks and little legs. However, Brandon, who already has 4 children, did not agree. Despite it being a playful conversation, it showcased Kelly's love for kids and her wish to grow her family.
I once spotted an old coin lying in the corner of my house. I scanned it with coin identifier, just for fun. Guess what? It was a super rare.
Darcy Lynn, from Shy Talent show competitor to AGT star and beyond. Darcy Lynn Farmer, a gifted ventriloquist who won America's heart on America's Got Talent, AGT, captivated millions with her charm, wit, and remarkable skill. Now she's back in the spotlight for a different reason, as recent reports reveal she has filed a police complaint against one of the judges from AGT. This surprising development has left fans curious about the story behind the action. At just 12 years old, Darcy became a sensation after winning AGT's 12th season, dazzling the audience and judges alike. Growing up in Edmond, Oklahoma with her parents and 3 brothers, Darcy attended Deer Creek Middle School. Despite her talent, she was a naturally shy child who found it difficult to communicate. Her parents, recognizing her potential, encouraged her to join talent competitions to build confidence. Initially, Darcy focused on gymnastics and Broadway singing at beauty pageants, often winning top awards. By age 8, she was competing in state and national level Cinderella pageants, an experience that sharpened her skills. However, everything changed when Darcy saw a ventriloquist perform at one of the pageants, sparking her interest in ventriloquism. Despite her mother's initial hesitation, Darcy persuaded her parents to buy her a puppet for her 10th birthday. She dedicated countless hours to mastering the art, learning to speak without moving her lips and even yodeling with her mouth closed. Darcy's efforts paid off when she won first place at Edmond's Got Talent, outperforming even adult competitors. This victory caught the attention of professional ventriloquist Gary Owen, who later became her coach and business manager. Under his guidance, she continued to win talent shows, eventually making her national television debut on Little Big Shots with Steve Harvey. She also made history as the first child to perform at the International Ventriloquist Convention's evening show. When she auditioned for AGT in Austin, Texas, Darcy had blossomed into a confident performer. Skipping her first day of 7th grade, she wowed the judges with her rabbit puppet Petunia, singing Summertime by George Gershwin. Her performance earned a standing ovation from the entire room, including AGT's toughest judge, Simon Cowell. Melby was so moved she pressed the golden buzzer, sending Darcy straight to the quarterfinals. Her audition went viral, breaking records with over 105 million views on Facebook in just 24 hours. Darcy continued to impress throughout the season, quickly becoming a fan favorite. Her performances with various puppets, including Petunia, Oscar the Mouse, and Ed the Doorknocker, advanced her to the finals. In the grand finale, she delivered an unforgettable performance of Anything You Can Do with Terry Fator, AGT's first ventriloquist winner. Though she experienced a slight slip-up, she recovered effortlessly, making the show both engaging and heartwarming. By season's end, Darcy became the third ventriloquist, the third child, and the third female to win AGT, making history with her victory. Her triumph drew a record-breaking 52 million votes, transforming her into a beloved young star and fueling the show's success. The following season saw a 14% increase in viewership. Back in Edmond, Oklahoma, Darcy was celebrated with a museum exhibit showcasing her AGT journey, including her outfits, puppets, and promotional items. True to her generous spirit, she donated part of her $1 million prize to her church and surprised her mother with a new dishwasher. She also fulfilled her own wish by getting a pug puppy. As her career grew, Darcy continued to captivate audiences, balancing fame with her studies. She returned to public school but later switched to homeschooling to keep up with her demanding schedule. Her friends and family helped her stay grounded, treating her as they always had, due to high demand. Her Christmas-themed tour, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, was especially popular among young fans who brought their own puppets to performances. She also appeared in a holiday show with Grammy-winning group Pentatonix, where she humorously sang "Oh Christmas Tree" with her puppet Petunia. In 2018, she starred in her own TV holiday special, Darcy Lynn, My Hometown Christmas, filmed in her hometown church and featuring notable artists like Toby Keith, Hunter Hayes, and Pentatonix. Her career continued to flourish as she combined her love for ventriloquism with acting and singing. Darcy also returned to AGT for its Champions season, performing Tina Turner songs with her puppet Oscar. Though she initially lost to another contestant, she returned as a wild card and finished as runner-up. In 2022, she made her film debut in a Cowgirls song, playing Brooke, a rodeo rider who makes a comeback after an accident. The film's musical theme resonated with Darcy, and she co-wrote a song titled Just Breathe for a key scene. Beyond her work in ventriloquism, Darcy explored new creative paths such as acting, songwriting, and guitar playing. She shares glimpses of her personal and professional life on social media, where her nearly 5 million TikTok followers enjoy a mix of her musical performances, ventriloquism acts, and everyday teenage moments. Her first glimpse into the world of ventriloquism came at a local pageant, where a ventriloquist performance immediately struck a chord with her. Fascinated, she begged her mother to let her try it herself. Though initially hesitant, her mother relented, gifting her a puppet for her 10th birthday. Darcy then embarked on a journey of dedication and practice, spending countless hours perfecting her technique, learning to speak without moving her lips and to deliver voice variations for different characters. This dedication quickly paid off, with Darcy winning her first competition, Edmond's Got Talent, outperforming even adult contestants. That win brought her to the attention of Gary Owen, a seasoned ventriloquist who became her coach and helped her take her performances to the next level. Under Owen's guidance, Darcy won additional competitions, eventually landing a spot on Little Big Shots with Steve Harvey. Her talent then took her to the International Ventriloquist Convention, where she made history as the youngest performer to be featured in its prestigious evening show. However, her big break came when she auditioned for America's Got Talent in Austin, Texas. Darcy took a bold step, even missing her first day of 7th grade, to pursue this opportunity. When she performed Summertime by George Gershwin alongside her sassy rabbit puppet Petunia, her skills stunned the audience and judges alike. Her performance led Mel B to press the golden buzzer, catapulting Darcy straight to the quarterfinals. That audition, shared online, became a viral sensation, racking up over 100 million views on Facebook within a single day. Throughout the AGT season, Darcy's unique talent and wholesome charm won her a strong fan base. She brought life to several other puppet characters, each with its own voice and personality, from Oscar the Mouse to the feisty senior Ed the Doorknocker. In the final rounds, she performed alongside Terry Fader, the first ventriloquist to win AGT, delivering a memorable duet of Anything You Can Do. By the season's close, Darcy was crowned the champion, becoming the third ventriloquist, third child, and third female to win the show. Her victory was historic, fueled by an astonishing 52 million votes, a record-breaking number that brought AGT's viewership up 14% the following season. Her hometown of Edmond, Oklahoma, celebrated her success with an exhibit at the Oklahoma History Center, displaying her iconic outfits, puppets, and memorable items from AGT. In addition, she appeared with Grammy-winning group Pentatonix in a holiday special where she performed "Oh Christmas Tree" with her puppet Petunia, showcasing her continued appeal across age groups. Darcy's ventures continued with her very own Christmas TV special, Darcy Lynn, My Hometown Christmas, featuring appearances by musical icons like Toby Keith, Hunter Hayes, and Pentatonix. The special was a success and provided fans with a new way to connect with her charming personality and talent.
My Shrek Pakistan. Download now.
Hey fashion lovers, check out these 3 showstoppers that'll make you the center of attention. First pick, party tracksuits for men. 2PC comfort set, ultimate comfort meets modern style. Breathable fabric plus sleek design. Perfect for gym sessions, weekend hangouts, or even chai time with friends. Stay sharp, stay comfy. Second pick, kids festive ready kurtas and shalwar ages 1 to 10, adorable meets elegant. Vibrant colors plus lightweight fabric, designed for little stars to shine at celebrations or play dates. Bonus, easy to wash, even easier to love. Third pick, Smar's trendy maxi 3PC dress, women and teens, turn heads at every party. Stitched, printed, and oh so stylish, this maxi set blends tradition with runway flair. Perfect for weddings, birthdays, or just feeling fabulous. Upgrade your wardrobe now. Confidence never goes out of style.
As a show with a gentle form of humor and valuable lessons, the program had a long 8-year stay in American television history. There are a few memorable characters, including Barney Fife, played by Don Knotts, an endearing but inept deputy. Knotts' interactions with Griffith's character were funny and one of the program's highlights, earning him 5 Emmys. After 5 seasons, he was fired to take on other movie roles. Nonetheless, his depiction of Barney Fife is one of the most memorable in television history. This was evident from the top 10 Nielsen ratings the show boasted throughout its run, and it ended up at number 1 in 1968 when it went off the air. It largely influenced American culture through the creation of Gomer Pyle, USMC, and Mayberry RFD, and it continued to give audiences timelessly enjoyable entertainment as a rerun series. The cast, including Griffith, Howard, Knotts, and Frances Bavier, who played Aunt Bee, contributed immensely to the show's success. In contrast, Ron Howard's experiences on the show would determine his future in Hollywood. The Andy Griffith Show was an opportunity for Ron Howard to grow as an actor and find a new stage in his career. Landing the role of Opie Taylor, the boy next door, and happy-go-lucky son of Sheriff Andy Taylor, Howard was only 6 years old when he was cast on the program. In no time, he captured the audience's imagination with his curiosity and penchant for warmth. His first role was a great success with viewers, setting a good start for him to become one of the most famous directors in Hollywood. Fortunately, the series had veteran actors like Andy Griffith and Don Knotts who adopted Howard into the show. They escorted him through the shoot, with Griffith being very influential in Howard's life on and off camera, tutoring the kid like a father and teaching him the principles of decency and perseverance. While filming, Howard liked the presence of coworkers, but it was challenging to be an actor, a student, and a child at the same time. Nevertheless, these early experiences helped shape the resilient and dedicated professional he would later become. Despite all the fame, Howard was still just a kid trying to fit in, and his peers often teased him about his role as Opie. He later admitted that although he loved acting, he sometimes struggled with the attention it brought. The show came with several opportunities and, at the same time, presented a rather complicated experience since there were children acting on camera. A memorable moment occurred during the filming of the opening credits when Opie throws a rock into the lake. Young Howard couldn't toss it far enough to make the splash needed for the shot, so a crew member would throw another rock simultaneously to ensure the splash aligned with Opie's throw. This small trick became a sweet memory for Howard, capturing both the pressure and charm of his early career. The experience he gained on the Andy Griffith Show proved foundational, teaching him the value of collaboration, patience, and resilience, not only as an actor, but as a person. Howard's childhood years on set offered a first-hand view of successful television production, giving him a sharp start in understanding the dynamics behind the scenes. By the time the show ended in 1968, Howard had transformed from a precocious child actor into a seasoned performer, well prepared for the extraordinary career that lay ahead. On screen, the Andy Griffith Show radiated small-town warmth, but off-screen, things were sometimes less harmonious. Andy Griffith, known for his calm and easygoing character, occasionally showed a different side, sometimes letting loose with light-hearted pranks that didn't always sit well with others. Everyone on the Andy Griffith Show had their own experiences, and Frances Bavier, who played Aunt Bee, had a notably complex relationship with Griffith. A seasoned Broadway actress, she reportedly found Griffith's playful antics distracting and unprofessional, leading to occasional clashes between the two. Griffith wasn't the only one stirring up mixed feelings on set. While Don Knotts and Griffith remained lifelong friends, there were moments of tension, particularly about the show's future direction. Knotts had originally signed on for just 5 seasons with plans for other projects once his contract ended. However, as the show continued, both felt a bit disappointed that Knotts couldn't play a larger role in shaping the show's trajectory. Despite these issues, Griffith's practical jokes became part of the set's culture. One of his favorite targets was Knotts himself. He would often wake him from naps by dropping metal film cans to startle him. Though surprised, Knotts took it in stride, and the two developed a strong bond, creating an on-screen duo that fans adored and could sense was genuine. Even George Goober Lindsay wasn't spared from Griffith's pranks, once waking from a nap to find duck guts strung around his dressing room. Though all in good fun, Griffith's pranks sometimes clashed with serious cast members like Frances Bavier. A New York-trained actress, she didn't appreciate his laid-back, small-town style of comedy. Off-screen, their dynamic was far more complicated than it appeared on camera. Yet, they both maintained professionalism while filming, ensuring that their differences didn't affect their work. Later in life, Bavier offered a heartfelt apology to Griffith, recognizing her role in their tension and seeking to make peace. Ultimately, the cast's professionalism triumphed over any off-screen issues. Nevertheless, with some jolts of humor and protests, they helped develop one of the most beloved television shows that is appreciated today. The relationships within the show bring up the difficulties of being employed in such an environment. However, the actor's passion can be seen regardless of personal conflicts. However, Griffith's friendship with Don Knotts was one of the most valuable relationships in his life and acting career. They were funny together, both very quick-witted, and developed great on-screen chemistry, which formed the basis of the show. Off-camera, they remained friends even when Knotts decided to exit the show in 1965. Griffith was deeply affected by Knotts' departure but realized that the show was never as good as it was with him. They remained friends until Knotts died in 2006, which indicates the true extent of their friendship. To honor him, the people of Morgantown started a campaign to erect a statue of Knotts at the Metropolitan Theater in downtown Morgantown. This statue, created by local artist Jamie Lester, was installed in 2016 and remains a kind tribute to Knotts' tremendous legacy. Finally, while Griffith could argue and fight with cast members now and then, he was the core of the Andy Griffith Show, forging more than mere professional ties to create the essence of the show's on-screen teamwork and guarantee its success. His guidance in working with Ron Howard and his deep friendship with Don Knotts became the basis of not only the program's appeal, but also a part of television history itself. And in the years that followed, as audiences rewatched the classic show, the behind-the-scenes stories continued to grow in fascination. Fans learned how this calm, idealized version of Americana was built upon a set full of quirks, rivalries, and genuine connections, human elements that ultimately made the magic possible. The legacy of the show extended beyond television into American culture itself, inspiring community values and reminding viewers of the power of kindness, patience, and forgiveness. Ron Howard, as he matured into a visionary director, often reflected on his time in Mayberry. He acknowledged that the lessons taught by Andy Griffith were not just about acting but about life, how to lead with integrity, how to be generous with one's time, and how to carry oneself through both success and failure. Andy Griffith had that rare gift of making people around him feel seen, valued, and heard. His leadership style set a tone that carried the show forward and became a standard by which others in the industry measured themselves. Whether in front of the camera or behind it, Griffith's influence shaped careers and lives. In more recent years, documentaries and retrospectives have examined the show's impact, not only on pop culture but also on the personal journeys of those involved. Fans gained new appreciation for Frances Bavier, whose portrayal of Aunt Bee became an iconic archetype of the American matriarch despite the friction off-screen. Likewise, Don Knotts' comedic brilliance continues to be studied in acting schools, with his unique brand of vulnerability and panic-stricken energy becoming a hallmark in TV comedy. Griffith's portrayal of Andy Taylor is still seen as one of the most balanced and nuanced performances of the era, combining wit, wisdom, and understated authority. The longevity of the Andy Griffith Show speaks volumes about the chemistry among the cast and the writing that captured a nation's longing for simpler times. Though tensions existed, they were often tempered by mutual respect and the shared goal of creating Something meaningful. This balance of lighthearted storytelling and deep-rooted character dynamics has ensured the show remains relevant. Reunions, interviews, and tributes have only added more layers to the show's history, each memory shared by cast or crew reinforcing the idea that while Mayberry was fictional, the relationships and memories. It's Birdie here. What's going on, guys? Okay, so good old Chuck Norris. We all know him. We all love him. But I have a feeling you're not going to agree with him on this one. Okay, so good old Chuck has a bizarre theory concerning Bruce Lee's death. So let's take a listen to what Chuck Norris has to say about Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee's death. Suspect foul play? I don't know. I can't even speculate what the situation is. Sitting down and, oh wow. You know, and 'cause I'd never met him. I'd never met him. I'd seen him, you know, doing his stuff. And anyway, we kind of nodded at each other and then I fought and won the championship and Bruce Lee goes like this here. So I go down there and get off the, and we start talking, and he says, "Don't you live in LA?" I says, "Yes." He said, "I do too. So why don't we start training together?" I said, "Okay." So Bruce and I worked out for 2 years together. He taught me a lot of his Chinese techniques, and I showed him a lot of our techniques, of kicks and all this stuff here. He believed in going to kicking below the waist, and I said, "Well, that's good, Bruce." He said, "You should be able to kick anywhere. You should be able to put that foot anywhere." And so, so we trained together for 2 years, and he got, as you could tell, he got really good at it. And anyway, and then finally he gives me a call and he says, "I'm leaving for Hong Kong to do a movie," and I said, "That's great. Well, good luck." So I don't hear from Bruce for 2 years. And then out of the blue, he gives me a call. He says, "I've done 2 movies in Hong Kong and they're really successful." He said, "I want to do a movie now with a fight scene that's never been done before, and I want you to be my opponent." I go, and I never done anything like that. I said, "Oh, you know why? Because I'm the world champion." "Is that?" And I said, "Well, who wins, Bruce?" He said, "Kidding." He said, "I'm going to win. I'm the champ. I'm the winner. I'm the star." I said, "Oh, okay." So anyway, Bruce, did this big fight scene in Rome and it was really, 'cause Bruce and I worked out for 2 years together. So we knew each other very, very well. I knew everything that he wants to do, and he knows everything that I like to do. And so when we did the fight scene, we pretty much just put it together right there. And anyway, we did the fight scene and after it was over, I went back home. And then in 1972, I get a call. Bruce is coming to LA to see his doctor, and he says, so he says, "Let's have lunch." So, we do. We have lunch, and he says, "I'm going to see the doctor, and 'cause I got some problems. I'm getting dizzy and passing out, so I want to find out what it is." So anyway, so he goes to the doctor, does the whole thing. Anyway, after he does, we get back together. And I said, "How'd it go?" And he says, "Well, the doctor says, he was 32, same age, he's the same age as me. We were both 32. And he said, the doctor says I'm like an 18-year-old kid, I said, "Oh, that's great." And I said, "Did he tell you why you're falling and doing all the falling and all that stuff?" He says, he doesn't know. He says, it could just be anything. So anyway, he leaves for Hong Kong, and a few months later he passes away. And I was shocked. Anyway, when they went to Seattle, just laid there, and we all went up, me and a lot of friends of Bruce's, went up there for the graduate, when he died. And Linda, his wife, decided to move back to California, and they found a home about, maybe a half a block from my house. So I could spend time with Brandon, the boy. And I did. I spent a lot of time with him, telling him about his dad and you and all this stuff here. And then, of course, he became a champion, star, himself. And then unfortunately he wound up passing away. But the thing is that Bruce was an incredible guy. And this is, and this time I spent with him going through this whole thing here was something I will never forget about. And so this is about Bruce Lee. When I was having dinner with Chuck, I did ask him. I said, if you and Bruce were in a real fight to death, who would win? And he, without thinking, he said, Bruce. Of course. Nobody could beat him. Okay, so the voice you just heard was the voice of John Ben, the boss from Way of the Dragon. Now this was a secret recording. He wasn't aware that he was being recorded. So he sat down with Chuck Norris and he asked Chuck Norris, who would win in a real fight between you and Bruce Lee? And Chuck said that Bruce Lee would win that fight. When he went to Hong Kong, his first movie, the biggest grossing movie in Asia before Bruce went over there, was The Sound of Music. It had grossed $2.4 million, which again was the biggest movie ever grossed in the Orient. Bruce did the first movie called The Big Boss, which over here was The Fist of Fury, and that one grossed $3.2 million, which is $800,000 more than The Sound of Music. Then he did The Fist of Fury, which over here was called The Chinese Connection, and that one grossed $4.3 million. And then he called me up and he said he'd like to do a movie with a real good fight scene in the movie. I said, well, the only way we can have a fight scene is if, we fight, if I get hit you once in a while. And he said, well, yeah, naturally, we'd make it a back and forth type fight. So anyway, that fight scene that you saw took us 5 days to do, and in Asia alone, the movie grossed over $11 million. It's the biggest grossing movie in the history of Asia, and they don't think anything will surpass it for a long time. Then Bruce naturally did Enter the Dragon, which was his last movie and was probably the biggest grossing movie as far as martial art movies go. But Bruce was 32 years old. Let me explain something about his death too, because there's, I guess, so many rumors that are going about how he passed away and so forth, about touch of death and drugs and so forth. And so I'd like to clarify that before we go on with the demonstration. Bruce, in 1968, he was pretty heavy into the weightlifting. As you could tell, he was very well built. And he was lifting weights one night with Kareem Jabbar, who was a student of his when he was in Los Angeles playing at UCLA. And he tried to lift too heavy weights, and he ruptured the discs in his back. And he was laid up in the hospital for 3 weeks. In fact, the doctor said that they didn't know if he'd be able to walk again or not. But of course, with a person like Bruce who's got the drive and determination to achieve anything in life, he was up in about a month, and within 3 months he was as strong as he ever was. But he had constant back pains from that day on, and he was having to take medication to keep the muscles in the back loose and relaxed. So what happened is that when he was in Hong Kong preparing for his next movie, he was working with a girl named Betty, who was going to co-star with him, and he got a severe headache. So Betty gave him some antibiotics for the headache, and with the medication he had taken for his back and the medication he had taken for his headache, they reacted to each other and made his brain swell up and created an aneurysm or ruptured blood cells in his brain. And that's actually what happened. So if anyone asks you what happened, then you can tell them the truth. What truly happened in those final moments remains shrouded in mystery, but the aftermath has become a story of fortune, family, tears, and the complex reality of celebrity death. Anne's sudden cardiac arrest, discovered at 7:50 a.m. when emergency responders rushed to her Brooklyn loft, marked the end of an era for Food Network and the beginning of a legal and emotional battle over her substantial estate. The preliminary reports listed heart failure as the cause, though the official autopsy results, still pending, would determine the complete truth behind her unexpected departure from the world she had helped transform. The financial reality hit Anne's family immediately, a $4 million estate that included not just cash and bank accounts but a complex web of real estate, television royalties, cookbook revenues, and brand endorsement contracts accumulated over more than 2 decades of relentless work. Her Brooklyn loft alone, purchased in 2019 for $1.53 million, had appreciated to nearly $2 million by 2025, representing just a fraction of the empire she had built. Stuart Claxton, along with her children and immediate relatives, suddenly found themselves thrust into the overwhelming responsibility of managing television royalties, ongoing income from program reruns, unfinished charitable projects, unsettled brand contracts, and community contributions and had committed to before her death. Legal experts immediately recognized the complexity of Anne's estate, admitting that for high-profile figures like her, the inventory and division of assets could take months or even years to resolve. This wasn't simply about material value. Image rights, copyrights, brand contracts, and charitable projects all demanded careful consideration and negotiation behind the scenes. While television audiences mourned their beloved chef, family members engaged in ongoing debates about maintaining Anne's legacy for future generations while preserving the values she had championed throughout her career. The family's brief statement to the media captured their grief perfectly. Anne's smile lit up every room, and even though she is no longer here, her warmth, spirit, and boundless love will remain forever. Yet alongside that affection came the monumental responsibility of determining which values must be preserved for the next generation and which assets needed to be shared appropriately. The announcement of their intention to continue her community projects, with plans to establish a scholarship fund and support charitable organizations close to her heart, demonstrated their commitment to honoring her memory beyond mere financial considerations. But to understand the true magnitude of what Anne Burrell represented, we must journey back to the beginning, to those early, challenging years that few knew about. Behind the television spotlight lay a long process of training, setbacks, and proving herself in a city that shows no mercy to newcomers in the culinary world. Born and raised in Cazenovia, New York, and displayed her passion for cooking from childhood, helping her mother prepare dinner while watching television with her grandmother, never missing an episode of Julia Child, the biggest inspiration of her life. In 1991, Anne graduated from Canisius College with a bachelor's degree in English and Communications, a starting point quite distant from the culinary world that would eventually embrace her. Only months later, she made a complete life change, enrolling at the prestigious Culinary Institute of America, where ambitious young chefs from across the United States gathered to hone their craft. The discipline of professional training proved unforgettable, and Anne once shared, "If you don't have enough passion and stamina, you'll take yourself out of the kitchen." She graduated in 1996 and chose Italy as her first stop for hands-on experience, joining La Bottega del 30 in Tuscany, a restaurant with just 30 seats but honored with a coveted Michelin star. Those Italian months transformed her completely. Working shifts that stretched from early morning until midnight, and experienced the hands-on processes that define traditional Italian cuisine, gaining exposure to local culinary culture and developing a deep understanding of the meaning behind each ingredient and every classic recipe. This experience shaped her simple but meticulous style that would later captivate American audiences. After nearly a year in Tuscany, Anne returned to New York with a solid culinary foundation and an unshakable determination to succeed. The next turning point came when she became sous chef at Felidia, the famed restaurant of Lydia Bastianich. Working in a kitchen filled with seasoned chefs, Anne built her resolve and endured intense competition. The blend of Italian tradition and the fierce pace of the American culinary industry helped her rise through the ranks. She emphasized during this period, "I feel so fortunate to share the true passion of my life with everyone." In 2007, Anne took on the role of executive chef at Cent. Just 3 years later, in 2008, Food Network entrusted her to host Secrets of a Restaurant Chef, a specialized show helping everyday viewers access professional kitchen techniques and secrets. The program ran for 9 seasons, earned an Emmy nomination, and became one of the driving forces behind the wave of female TV chefs emerging at that time. The success of Secrets of a Restaurant Chef paved the way for Anne to join the famous reality series Worst Cooks in America in 2010, co-hosting alongside other well-known chefs. She remained with the show through 2025, leaving a lasting mark with her strong personality, witty hosting style, and signature platinum hair. In just the first 3 seasons, Anne won consecutively, helping transform the worst students into confident home cooks. Her patience and unique teaching style led many viewers to call Anne the spark in every American kitchen, a role model for anyone who ever thought themselves hopeless in the kitchen. Alongside Worst Cooks in America, Anne became a familiar face on numerous other reality TV programs, including Chef Wanted, Chopped All-Stars, The Best Thing I Ever Ate, Food Network Star, and most recently, House of Knives, which premiered in 2025. Notably, in Chopped All-Stars, 2015, and won and donated $75,000 to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, demonstrating that her influence extended beyond culinary expertise to encompass strong social responsibility. She also led culinary cruises, appeared on the Food Network float at the Macy's Parade, and became a regular guest at major food events across the United States. Anne's contributions extended well beyond television. She published 2 cookbooks, Cook Like a Rock Star, 2011, and Own Your Kitchen, 2013, both making the New York Times bestseller list and expanding her influence to a wide reading audience. These books empowered thousands to step confidently into the kitchen, changing their perceptions of cooking skills and the joy of preparing food. Many viewers wrote to thank Anne for helping them find confidence and inspiration again, turning ordinary moments into special family experiences. What made Anne unmistakable on television was her unique personal style: spiky platinum hair, brightly colored dresses, mismatched socks, and a sense of humor that shone through even the most high-pressure situations. Longtime colleague Carla Hall once remarked, "Anne isn't just a chef, she's someone who brings joy and personality into every kitchen." Her direct, demanding but always positive working attitude made Anne a role model for generations of female chefs who wanted to break free from traditional molds. In her personal life, Anne was known for her strong bond with Stuart Claxton, the partner who had stood by her side since 2018 after they met on a dating app. They held a cozy wedding on October 16, 2021, in her hometown of Cazenovia, witnessed by family, friends, Stuart's son Javier, Anne's mother Marlene, and her sister Jane. Anne always kept her private life discreet, though she couldn't avoid media attention, especially after her earlier engagement to chef Corin Greaves in 2012. Her openness about her sexuality and direct responses to social media speculation, "I have never hidden my sexuality, nor do I feel the need to," helped her retain respect from colleagues and the public despite constant pressure from being a public figure. Anne's professional journey included significant challenges, particularly in business. In 2017, she invested in opening her own restaurant, Phil and Anne's Good Time Lounge, in Brooklyn with high hopes. Within less than 2 years, however, the restaurant was forced to close due to financial pressures and operational difficulties. Anne would later recall this failure at public events, saying, "Managing a restaurant requires more than love for the kitchen. It demands clear-headedness, resilience, and the ability to accept risks." Though painful, she viewed it as a valuable lesson that deepened her appreciation for perseverance and recovery after setbacks. After Anne's passing, a profound sense of loss spread across media, social networks, and the entire American culinary industry. What stood out was not only the shock but also the deep reach of the values Anne had built over 3 decades. Renowned chefs, TV hosts, and artists paid tribute, showing absolute respect for Anne's role and personality. Carla Hall emphasized, "I loved working with and on worst cooks in America." She was a strong chef and teacher with her custom dresses, mismatched socks, and unforgettable smile. Artie Sequeira shared, "Anne was a tough but caring teacher, always greeting you with warmth, joy, and laughter."
नेस्ले बुनियाद से बने 1 लीटर सिर्फ 270 रुपए में। आयरन प्लस, कैल्शियम और विटामिन सी, सिर्फ बचत नहीं फायदा भी।
Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson wasn't planned. It wasn't polished, and it definitely wasn't the kind of thing you'd expect to come out of a PR playbook. It was raw. It was hilarious. And it instantly flipped the internet upside down. Blake Shelton has never been afraid to speak his mind, but his latest admission about Kelly Clarkson has left fans absolutely stunned. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a playful jab. It was a truth that nobody saw coming. For years, people have watched their fiery battles on The Voice, never realizing what Blake was holding back. Now, The country superstar's confession has flipped the story upside down, shaking the fan community and sparking endless debates online. The words were simple, but their impact was massive. And the big question remains, why did Blake finally say it now? Kelly Clarkson's sweet return and playful moments at The Voice finale. The 27th season of The Voice ended with a memorable finale that excited fans. The finale was energetic, featured powerful music, and included special guests, making it one of the most thrilling finals in recent years. The highlight of the night was seeing two popular former coaches, Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson, return to the stage to perform their new songs. This made the finale feel even more special. Many viewers were excited not just to hear the new songs, but also to witness the old chemistry between the performers. The fun competition between Kelly and Blake was a memorable part of the show, but unfortunately, it did not happen on stage this time. However, Kelly still found a way to recreate that banter with a small gesture, making the finale more heartfelt and special for everyone. Kelly Clarkson shared her journey back to the West Coast, including the emotions she felt while performing her new single, Where Have You Been? In a video on Instagram, fans could see her returning to a place where she had spent many years. Clarkson had spent 9 seasons on The Voice from 2018 to 2023, so her return held special significance for her. The video was heartwarming and enjoyable. It featured Kelly preparing for a significant event, putting on a beautiful black sequin pantsuit. What made her outfit stand out were the feathered wings hanging from her sleeves, creating a glamorous and dramatic appearance. Her feelings were clear as she expressed how difficult it was to describe the emotions of returning to a place that had played such a significant role in her life. It felt like all the memories from past seasons, the contestants she mentored, and the connections she made flooded back to her in an instant. However, the most exciting moment for fans was still to come. Kelly noticed Blake Shelton's iconic chair as she walked through the studio. This chair had been his spot on the show for many years, and fans were accustomed to seeing him spin around in it with his cowboy charm. Kelly, being playful, couldn't resist the urge to sit in the chair herself. Holding a coffee cup, she sat in the chair and appeared to be thrilled, as if she had temporarily claimed his throne. The moment captured Kelly's classic personality, sweet, playful, and enjoyable. It was not intended to offend anyone, especially Adam Levine, who also has a strong connection to that chair. Adam himself has made jokes about it being Blake's previous spot. Fans watching found it amusing and felt a sense of nostalgia. It reminded them of the old days when Kelly and Blake often teased each other on live television. Some viewers felt disappointed that the reunion between Kelly, Blake, and Adam did not happen on stage as they had expected. They missed the playful interaction between the trio. However, the finale did not completely rule out the possibility of Blake and Adam teaming up again, as Carson Daly hinted at it, keeping the audience intrigued. It is unclear if the reunion will happen in the future. Blake Shelton appears happy to have taken a break from the show, and it seems unlikely he will return soon. Kelly Clarkson, however, continues to be popular in the spotlight. There have been talks about possible career changes for her, including rumors about the future of her daytime talk show, but nothing has been confirmed yet. If she does make changes, she may have the opportunity to be a coach again in Los Angeles. Fans will have to wait and see for now. The upcoming season 28 of The Voice will have a new look, as none of the original judges, Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, or Adam Levine, will be returning this fall. Michael Bublé will be joining the panel to compete against Niall Horan, who has won twice. Reba McEntire and Snoop Dogg will also be new judges, bringing a mix of personalities and talent that will surely bring surprises. Blake's sweet music battle. The Voice has always showcased talent, surprises, and unforgettable moments. Sometimes, it's not just the contestants who stand out, but also the coaches. This was the case when Blake Shelton and Kelly Clarkson engaged in a playful yet serious debate that had fans talking long after the auditions ended. The moment that stood out was when Mandy Castillo auditioned with the song ACI Fue. Her voice caught the attention of the coaches right away. After her performance, the coaches shared their thoughts. Blake Shelton, known for his humor, seemed serious this time. He praised Mandy's singing and mentioned hearing a hint of country in her song. Kelly Clarkson is known for always correcting Blake when he says something wrong. This time, she corrected him by saying the instrument was a violin, not a fiddle. Usually, Blake would laugh it off, but this time he insisted both were the same. Kelly, however, stood by her point and said playing the violin made it different from a fiddle. It turned into a playful conversation between Blake and Kelly, filled with teasing like siblings. Fans enjoyed this banter. The crowd laughed as Mandy found herself in the middle of the friendly dispute between the two music stars. Blake not only praised Mandy's voice again, but also insisted that a fiddle and a violin are identical. This was his way of continuing their debate. When everyone thought the debate was over, Nick Jonas, a new coach, decided to end it. He looked up the answer on his phone and found that a violin can sometimes be called a fiddle. This discovery added to the fun, with Kelly amused and Blake more determined to prove his point. Behind the scenes, Blake was not finished yet. In an interview without the cameras, he repeated his explanation. He said that if a person went to a music store to buy a fiddle, they would be shown violins. He believed there was no distinction between the two, and he insisted that was the truth. So where's the truth? In technical terms, Blake was right. A fiddle and a violin are essentially the same musical instrument. The distinction lies not in the instrument itself, but in the type of music being performed. When playing classical or formal music, it is typically referred to as a violin. In folk or country music, it is often called a fiddle. It is more about the style of music and sound rather than the materials used to make the instrument. Fans on social media quickly shared their opinions. Some agreed with Blake, noting that his explanation was common among musicians. Others sided with Kelly.